30, 35 down the sidelines to the 40, makes a move to the 45, the 50, he's to the 40, he could go, he's at the 25, the 20, they dive at him, they miss him, he's in the end zone, touchdown!
Throws off his back foot, wide open man in the end zone, leaping grab, touchdown!
Launches the throw down toward the goal line, going up, ball tipped in the air, caught, touchdown!
Reverses his field, got a block from Pittman, going deep, got a man in the end zone, touchdown!
It's a man's game tonight now, you know that. Everybody watching tonight.
And now it's the Undefined Blitz with Chad and JC.
And welcome everybody once again to the Undefined Blitz right here on undefinedradio.com. Appreciate you guys and gals tuning in. As we get you through this, I don't know how it is where y'all are at, but it is storming right here in my house.
Yeah, it's working its way into my area too.
So it became a good one a little bit earlier. We're without air right now, so it's miserable in the house. So we're trying to get through it. So I hope y'all's day is better. So we got a little bit of football news to talk about today, don't we?
Oh yeah.
A few little things.
Yeah, we definitely do. I mean, it's weird, because the NFL is in that period between OTAs and training camp.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's nothing really football in the way of the game of football to talk about for the next 6 weeks, right?
That's right.
However, that doesn't mean that things don't happen. So, of course, some big news that came out was that Norma Hunt, matriarch of the Kansas City Chiefs, she has passed away at 85. She attended every Super Bowl from 1 to 57.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, she was there with she was the wife of Lamar Hunt,
Yep.
of course. 85 years old, no cause of death has been given. The Hunts, of course, released a statement. They said that she was kind and generous and unfailingly positive. She was one of a kind. Her joy and zeal for life were infectious. She loved caring for others, and she always had an encouraging word. She was a loyal friend, the consummate hostess, and she had a rare ability to make everyone she encountered feel valued and at ease. And I think that even Roger Goodell went on to talk about how she's basically been an integral part of the league over the course of the past 7 decades.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I mean, it's
pretty.
how long they've been a part of that, and then how long they've waited to win the Super Bowl. It has got to be a great way to go out, right?
They won one early, didn't they? Like Super Bowl 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And then didn't win another one until 2019?
Exactly.
Or 2018, whenever that was.
That's right.
That the Chiefs beat the 49ers. So yeah, that's a dramatic waiting period. 50 years, I guess, give or take.
But yeah, I hate to hear about that. I haven't even looked at the news today.
Yeah, that one I heard on the radio this morning, so felt like we might as well bring that up. And then some other disappointing kind of news. So a former part owner of the Minnesota Vikings is getting 6 years in prison over an AAF crypto scam.
What?
Yeah, so Reginald Fowler, who's 64 of Chandler, Arizona, he was sentenced in a Manhattan federal court to 6 years and 3 months in prison and was ordered to forfeit $740 million and pay a restitution of $53 million. So apparently he defrauded a short-lived professional football league. You remember this, the Alliance of American Football, in a $700 million cryptocurrency scam.
Wow.
And he got sentenced earlier today to 6 years in prison. So, of course, the AAF met a speedy end in 2019 when it ran out of money. Prosecutors said Fowler lied to the league's executives when he claimed to control bank accounts with tens of millions of dollars from real estate investments and government contracts that he could use to support the league. So back in 2005, he tried to buy the Vikings, but he ended up ultimately becoming a minority owner before his involvement with the team ended in 2014. So according to U.S. Attorney Damian Williams, He noted that Fowler broke the law by processing hundreds of millions of dollars of unregulated transactions on behalf of cryptocurrency exchanges that were used as a shadow bank. So he did so by lying to legitimate U.S. financial institutions, which exposed the U.S. financial system to serious risk. He then victimized a professional football league by lying about his net worth in exchange for a substantial portion of the league.
Good Lord.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
dudes out here trying to hustle. That's crazy.
But,
That's wild.
We do have positive news going out. Starting up in Buffalo, they signed linebacker Leonard Floyd to help bolster that linebacker core that's, of course, already has Von Miller. So they're really kind of adding another semi-pass rusher. He's really good against the run. So we'll see how well Leonard Floyd works out for the Buffalo Bills. Speaking of Von Miller, allegedly he is targeting week 1 to be ready to come back. Which week 1 they do take on Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets, which still feels weird to say. So Von Miller's aiming for week 1. He said at the latest it'll probably be around week 6, but that's his kind of target window, somewhere between 1 and week 6 of getting back on the field.
Hey, good for Von Miller.
But other big news coming out of Buffalo is that the Bills have officially broken ground on a new $1.54 billion stadium. So this new stadium is across Abbott Road from the Bills' practice facility and Highmark Stadium. Dirt is currently being moved and construction vehicles are in full work mode. So with years put into coming into an agreement with New York State and Erie County on a deal, there was no time to waste on beginning construction on a new stadium grounds in time. Ideally, they're trying to get the stadium open for the 2026 season. So the agreements include a 30-year lease and a non-relocation agreement that makes it difficult for the team to leave Buffalo, which is the second smallest NFL market, larger only than Green Bay.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so the Bills are now tied to the city of Buffalo for the next 30 years because of the stadium.
Well, hey, they needed it.
They did need it. I mean, it's been a while since they've had a new stadium. I think with the team being where they are right now, this is probably the perfect time to do it. It is an outdoor stadium, so it's not going to have a roof on it. So that Buffalo weather is really still going to play a factor. But it will include stacked seating and a canopy overhang to protect fans from the elements a little bit. But, that canopy is going to let stuff through.
Oh, yeah.
It will also feature a natural grass field, which is a change from the turf field at the current stadium. So the Bills have played at their current stadium since 1973.
Yeah.
It's the 4th oldest stadium in the NFL. And the lease for the stadium has been extended to 2028 to allow for any potential construction issues or delays.
Well, good for Buffalo.
And the construction of the current stadium was originally 100% publicly financed. New York State will own the new stadium. The final agreement on the 30-year lease came in a unanimous vote from Erie County Legislature back on May 4th.
Well, good deal for them. Hey, what about the Showboats? They were 0-3 to start this season, and they're on a 4-game winning streak.
Honestly, I didn't know that because I have not heard the first thing about the USFL.
Yeah.
I mean, literally not a peep. I was thinking about this the other day, like how much attention the XFL got. And hey, it was a good, fun, entertaining product, but I don't ever see anyone or hear anyone talking about the USFL.
No, it's not being pushed at all. I mean, it's pretty bad.
It kind of makes me think that maybe having 2 spring leagues is a bad idea. At least from a fan standpoint. For the players, it's probably a good thing because that's more reps, it's more exposure. Likelihood increases that they could potentially get invited to a training camp this summer.
Maybe so, but wow, this is so fascinating. That you just don't. I mean, you got what, 8 teams? Yeah, it is 8 teams in the
Yeah,
XFL,
8 teams.
right? So,
just like the XFL.
but man, the XFL, we talked about it all season. It's fun to watch. And I don't even know how many weeks
Our Renegades actually won the championship.
Right now?
Well, I mean, if Memphis is 4-3 now, then I'm.
Yep,
they're 5-3 now. Okay, so I'm guessing they only have 2 more weeks.
Exactly. So this is kind of setting up like one of those Arlington situations. Like your South Division has got Birmingham at 6-2, Memphis at 5-3, New Orleans at 5-3, Houston at 5-3. The North Division has Philadelphia at 4-4, Michigan at 3-5, New Jersey at 2-6, and Pittsburgh at 2-6. Yeah.
Wow. Because Birmingham won the championship last year. They beat the New Jersey Generals. So and I don't know. I mean, this is literally me wondering out loud. I wonder if the league did a redraft for this year, or if anyone carried over from last season that's not on an NFL squad now. And I know some teams lost players to the XFL this season. Like Jordan Te'amu was in the USFL last season. He came back to the XFL, of course, played with the DC Defenders, got to the title game. So he's not on a USFL squad this season.
Well, the Stallions can clinch their playoff spot this weekend with a win. The Stars can also do the same thing in their division. Oh, geez. Yeah. So they've got this weekend and next weekend's the final 2 weekends. And then it's playoff time.
And then I'm guessing they're going to have a 2-week playoff like
that'll be like Saturday and Sunday, the 24th and 25th. And then the championship is July 1st. On NBC.
Man, that is – it is wild that this whole season has gone on and no one can tell you about it. I mean, that's absolutely bananas.
It's just, this time of the year is dominated so much by baseball, basketball.
It is, which, hey,
so much happening.
Speaking of baseball, these Rangers.
That's right.
Man, they are handling business. They are one of the best offensive teams in all of baseball, and it has actually been fun for me to watch baseball this year because the Rangers are not just beating teams, but they are beating them up.
Which is wild, isn't it?
They just went and dropped 16 runs on Seattle either last night or the night before. Dude, I will gladly take that kind of stuff.
It is crazy. I mean, they're 38-20 right now. So
38-20.
I think the Rays have more wins.
Yeah, but not by much.
That's it, right?
Yeah. I mean, the Rangers are not just second best record in the American League, but second best record in baseball. They gave up $500 million to sign Marcus Semien and to sign Corey Seager, and those two dudes are going off. There's a pretty quick ROI on that. Jacob deGrom, when he's healthy, he's pitching well. Nathan Eovaldi has given up. I think he's averaging an ERA of 0.68 over his last 7 starts.
This is how you know your offense is the truth. When your record is 6-1 with a 4.43 ERA.
Like they're just getting after it all the way around.
Jeez, man. That's so good as a Rangers fan. Because you can watch some of their highlights and go, these guys are just teeing off.
Yeah, I mean, Adolis Garcia is out there doing the thing. Like, I could rant and rave all day about how well this Rangers team's playing. Definitely the best team they've had in 10 years.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. And I love seeing it. It's so nice for a change.
Oh, it definitely is. But I'm going to take it back to football real fast. There's some good news out of Jacksonville. And that's that for the first time in his albeit short, career, Trevor Lawrence is getting to experience what a normal NFL
That is
offseason is
true.
like. He
Probably
has
like, so this is
the
what
same
this is
head
about.
coach. Yeah, he's got the same head coach. You know, of course, we all remember the whole Urban Meyer deal.
Yep.
And that didn't really work out. Doug Peterson comes in, not only gets that team to the playoffs, but they win a playoff game. Last year, he was trying to learn Doug Peterson's system. Now he knows the system, and he can actually kind of adjust to life in the NFL after going through the pre-draft process, getting to know a new head coach for the second time in 2 years. He doesn't have to worry about learning yet another new offensive system. He can focus on fine-tuning his fundamentals and working to get the offense to function at a higher level. He still has Zay Jones. He still has Christian Kirk. Now they've added Calvin Ridley to that mix. They re-signed Evan Ingram. They have Travis Etienne. They've actually brought in a slew of running backs to challenge Travis Etienne for that running back spot. Jacksonville, it feels like at this point, is just going to build off of last season. I don't see them regressing.
When does preseason officially start? Do you know off the top of your head?
So I don't know off the top of my head, but I can find out real quick. I'm typically the Hall of Fame games early in August. So we've got preseason week
August
1
9th
here.
through the 15th is that first weekend. The Hall of Fame game is August 1st. Well, 1st to the 8th, Hall of Fame week,
Okay.
I guess is when that is. So August 3rd will be the first game, Jets-Browns at Canton.
Yeah. Jets-Browns. Well, you know what? That's not as gross as it sounds like because the starting quarterbacks are Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson. I mean, they won't play in this game, of course. But there is at least a selling point around it.
I'm looking. So
Thursday,
Dallas has
August
the
3rd.
Jaguars. Yep. Jaguars, Seahawks, and who else do they have? Raiders, as always. Okay. And, of course, they open the season with the Giants.
Which I'm all about. I love divisional matchups to start the season and to end the season.
Yeah, for sure. I do too.
And I think the Cowboys have a divisional matchup on Thanksgiving again this year. Which, last season they played the Giants. I think a couple years ago or 3 years ago they played the then Washington Redskins. The Cowboys are actually – they're going to have the Commanders on Thanksgiving. I would be down for that every year. And, I mean, honestly, I would love for it to be Dallas and Washington. Because in my brain, the whole Cowboys and Redskins thing just made too much sense to not have on Thanksgiving. But I would love Washington to be a permanent fixture against Dallas on Thanksgiving Day. But if they rotate it, where it's New York, then Washington, and then Philly, that's fine. I could live with that. I just don't like when it's like a weird, even a non-conference game. Like we saw Buffalo came into Dallas and beat the brakes off of Dallas several years ago.
Mm-hmm.
In my lifetime, I remember the Cowboys playing the Dolphins on Thanksgiving a few times. The last time was when Chad Hutchinson was the quarterback for the Cowboys, and it did not go well for Dallas that day, and Ricky Williams kind of ran all over everybody.
Yep.
But speaking of Miami, they are playing in the first ever Black Friday game this year. As Miami travels to New York to play Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. That'll be a 2 p.m. kickoff time on that's a Prime Video exclusive, so only available to you Amazon Prime subscribers. Miami Dolphins at the New York Jets, Friday, November 24th.
Wow.
And so originally when the NFL was kicking around this idea to do a Black Friday game, supposedly Cincinnati threw their hat in the ring and said, hey, not only do we want to host the Black Friday game this year, but we want it to like that to be our thing. Like Detroit and Dallas always have a home Thanksgiving Day game. ultimately, the league decided that New York is a bigger market, that Aaron Rodgers is a bigger deal than Joe Burrow. And so I know that they gave the game this year to the Jets, but I think the Jets are fighting to get that spot every year going forward, making it, Black Friday is the home of the New York Jets.
There are so many ways that could go bad for the Jets. As a historically bad franchise. And I say historically bad because they haven't been relevant since Joe Namath.
Yeah, but you think last year they were doing really well in spite of terrible quarterback play.
Oh, no doubt. Nobody says they're not improving.
They were finding ways to win games, and now you've got one of the all-time greats at quarterback to go with the same exact receiving core.
Yep, for at least
plus
this year.
You'll get Breece Hall back healthy. Like there's a lot to be optimistic about. You had the rookie or the offensive and defensive rookies of the year on that New York Jets squad last season. I just think the Jets are in a rough spot because Miami's pretty good and Buffalo's really good.
Yep.
But can the Jets find a way to leapfrog Buffalo's?
I just love the fact that those are the three teams that are getting good now all at the same time. When New England was in control of that division for 2 decades, they all sucked except for New England. Except every now and then, sporadically, one would show up for one season and then go back down the fields again.
I mean, the Jets would have won that division the year that I guess it was the year that Tom Brady got hurt, where he tore his ACL in Week 1 against the Dolphins.
Yep.
The Jets were actually in a situation where they could win that division, and then the final week of the regular season, I think they played New England. This was that one year that Brett Favre was a Jet.
Yep.
And Brett Favre got hurt in that game against New England, came out, and New England ultimately won it to win the division.
So wild.
That was with Matt Castle.
That was Matt Castle's year. That's what made Matt Castle a multimillionaire.
Yeah, because then he parlayed that into a big-time deal with Kansas City, which didn't work out. I think he ended up in Minnesota for a little bit, and then, of course, he ended up in Dallas.
Yeah, we tried to forget the 2015 season.
Yeah, that was just bad all the way around. Except for DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray was a bright spot that year.
Yeah. No, DeMarco was gone that year. Remember?
No, DeMarco was there that year.
No, he was gone after the 2014 season. They didn't bring him back because they thought they could get away with it. And then Des Bryant goes down first game of the season.
And Romo went down.
In Philly. So, yeah, and then they had nothing. Right? They had, what was that dude's name who ended up washing out because he kept screwing up all the time, running back that we had for a little bit there. Oh, my God, I cannot remember his name. He was real fast. He showed bursts of talent, but he always was dumb as dirt and kept doing stupid things. I cannot remember his name. I have to go back and look at the roster now. But, yeah, because DeMarco had got sent off to – didn't DeMarco go to Philly?
Yeah, DeMarco went to Philly, and then he went to Tennessee.
So, yeah, crazy.
But, we got Zeke out of it and had a pretty solid 7-year run there.
Really good 7-year run.
And it's all because of that terrible 2015
That's the only way that happens. So, yeah. I hate that we just don't have a lot to talk about. That sucks.
Well, that's from the pro standpoint. I mean, there is college football news. Ole Miss has added a top wide receiver transfer target in Zaire Franklin from University of Texas, San Antonio, the Roadrunners. That program's been pretty good over the last couple seasons. So that gives, of course, I can't say that Jackson Dart's going to be the starting quarterback for the Ole Miss Rebels because it could definitely be Spencer Sanders, who transferred in from Oklahoma State. But the fact is there won't be any shortage of talent on offense for Ole Miss this season. I'm just kind of curious about their defense and where that's kind of sitting as of right now.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to college football this season.
Yeah, the last year of college football as we know
It
it.
will change after this season.
Absolutely. And one of those changes, of course, is Texas and Oklahoma
Yep.
going to the SEC. And we know that Texas has Quinn Ewers currently. They also have Arch Manning. Well, they just added KJ Lacey, who is the number 47 recruit of the 2025 class, but is the number 1 overall quarterback in that class. He is also committed to Texas
which is a good thing for them, because by the time he sees the field, which might be the next year, if you're talking about if Arch, you think Arch will go 3 and gun, or do you think he stays all 4? I think 3.
Yes. No, I think Arch is 3 years.
I think that's why it was easy for him to make that commitment.
I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with Quinn Ewers this year. If Ewers plays well, Arch gets a red shirt. It won't matter, but he'll get a red shirt. And then I expect Arch to probably be the guy the next 2 seasons. At which point he'll leave as KJ Lacey's coming in, and KJ Lacey will take
Yeah,
over.
that's what I'm kind of thinking.
But speaking of that move of Oklahoma and Texas, though, to the SEC has officially announced what they're going to do in 2024 as far as scheduling. So the SEC is only going to have each SEC team will only have 8 SEC games that season, and there won't be divisions.
Oh, they're getting rid of the divisions?
No divisions. So 8-game conference play.
Top 2 teams get it.
No divisions. It's a 16-team league. Yeah, it's like the Big 12. Top 2 teams play each other for the SEC title game at the end of the year.
Oh, my God. SEC purists are going to hate this.
So the SEC, what they're trying to do is they're trying to protect one natural rivalry or long-standing rivalries. So we'll probably see Mississippi State, Ole Miss survive. Alabama, Auburn will survive. Georgia, Florida will survive. But that puts us in a situation where will we still be able to see other rivalry games like Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn, Georgia? Do we get Texas A&M? Because Texas and Oklahoma will probably be the traditional rivalry because they just renewed their deal with the Texas State Fair for the next 6 years.
That rivalry is bigger than Texas A&M, right? It just is.
It is, but I as a lifelong Texas fan bought into that Texas A&M rivalry first.
100%. But the Oklahoma one was just a bigger deal because A&M was so bad for so long. The rivalry kind of lost a lot of its luster, but that Red River Shootout, or whatever they're calling it nowadays,
Red River rivalry,
is, it's just a big deal.
Oh, absolutely. But it puts Texas and Oklahoma in a weird spot, right? Because in the Big 12, you play 9 conference games. So now Texas has to scramble to get a fourth non-conference game. And Oklahoma, as it stood last week, only had 2 non-conference games scheduled. So they have to find 2 more opponents to play for 2024.
That'll be interesting. I'm sure they'll find somebody to take those. I mean, I don't think they'll have a problem doing it. The problem is that everybody's already got their schedules. They're trying to get those schedules made out now.
Right. And so Texas, I feel like, is coming into the SEC with a bit of a bang as far as what they're trying to do. We saw them several years ago. They played a home and home against LSU. They came up on the losing side of both of those. They're currently in the second half of a home and home with Alabama this year. Going to Tuscaloosa this season after they could have beaten Alabama last year in Austin, like they could have beaten that legendary 2019 LSU team in Austin as well. So going into the SEC in 2024, Texas actually has a road game booked in Ann Arbor to play Michigan. So you put that on top of all the SEC play. Like that strength of schedule is going to be pretty high.
Dang, that's going to be wild.
But so this is tentatively the idea for 2024 alone, because technically Texas and Oklahoma can't vote on the scheduling until they become official members, which does not take place until July 1st of next year. So that 2025 season, we might see pods, we might see 2 divisions, or however they split it up. But also, the SEC is doing it this way too, because they kind of want to see what that 12-team playoff is going to look like in 2024. Before they start labeling people division champs, and maybe there's automatic qualifiers, even if you don't win a conference, but if you were one of the top 2, or one of the 2 division winners, do you get in? I think the SEC is just kind of looking to protect themselves, and what better way than your top 2 teams are getting in instead of necessarily your best team.
Well, I think that's also the thing, though, about the 12-team playoff is that SEC keeps doing what they do. There's guaranteed 2 teams in.
At least, yeah.
Because, I mean, it's just by far the strongest conference in football. It's really just not that close. So it's to me, it's going to be interesting.
No, it's not that close.
No, I was just saying,
sorry,
so
what were you saying?
It really is going to be interesting to see how the playoff committee navigates that, because you really are, when you start getting into some of that, you really are going to have to look at strength of schedule. When it gets to some of those bottom tier,
absolutely,
bottom tier teams technically that you're trying to get into the playoffs, you're going to have to look at that. That's going to have to be a real conversation.
Yeah, I fully expect the SEC to have 2, 3, maybe 4 teams in the playoff. The Big Ten will probably have 2 or 3. Ohio State, Michigan, maybe a Wisconsin, maybe a Penn State, someone like that, or maybe Iowa if they can get it turned around. The Pac-12 will probably have 1 team, and that'll be their conference champion. The Big 12 will probably just have their conference champion. It'll be interesting to see what happens with group of 5 schools. How many group of 5 schools can make it in? Will it be the Conference USA champion, the American champion, Mountain West champion? Especially with the Big 12 realignment that's going on right now. Like this year, the Big 12 is technically going to be not necessarily a super conference, but they're going to be a 14-team league this year. So how will that work with Texas and Oklahoma currently in the Big 12, but with the additions of BYU and Cincinnati, and I'm trying to think of who else came in. UCF and Houston. Those are the other 2 teams that are coming in.
Exactly. Something I was looking at Texas's schedule this season. So they play Bama, and they have Oklahoma.
Right.
They've got TCU. They play Rice and Wyoming. They've got Baylor. They got Kansas, Houston, Iowa State.
Hey, that
Texas
Kansas squad good last year.
Yep. So I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be weird because this is the last time you're gonna see their schedule look this way, like we were used to kind of seeing it.
Yeah, it's really gonna get pretty beefy here. Not only this season, but of course every season going forward. But while Texas and Oklahoma are planning their exit out of the SEC, the Big 12 is actually looking to expand a little further. So potentially there's the idea floating around of maybe bringing in a school or 2 as basketball-only schools, like a Gonzaga or a UConn, who are basketball blue bloods. But we all know that football kind of really drives the ship in college sports. It's just the way it is.
No, that's right.
So I don't know what other teams that they could bring in on the football side of it, but the team that's kind of getting neglected in all these conference talks, especially for the Big 12 and the SEC, that makes the most sense to me is Memphis.
Oh yeah,
like it's in
about that last year.
It's in a city I mean, yes, it's a basketball city. Memphis, Tennessee is a basketball town, straight up. It'll never be a football town. However, the football team has been pretty good over the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So why not get them in there with your other American Athletic Conference teams that the Big 12's already bringing in?
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
I mean, and for the SEC, all these kids that play football well in the city of Memphis, they get recruited to Ole Miss, Mississippi State, the University of Tennessee, to Arkansas, to LSU, to Bama. Now they could stay in the city of Memphis. They could stay at home and still play in the SEC. That would be a huge, huge option. Plus, you add another large market area, even though Memphis is technically a smaller market compared to a New York City or an LA or Dallas or Chicago.
Yeah.
It's a college town in an actual city, much the way that Vanderbilt's a college town in Nashville. And you can have that growing that really kind of would have the SEC controlling the state of Tennessee.
Yeah.
And originally, several years ago, when Missouri and Texas A&M left the Big 12 to go to the SEC, Memphis was trying to get in the Big 12 back then. So this is now twice that the Big 12 has told University of Memphis, no thanks, we're good.
Yeah, which is, I mean, I get it. I mean, I do get it. I mean, I'm looking at
and not to mention, if you bring in Memphis for all sports into the Big 12, on the basketball side of things, you also get the star that is their head coach in Penny Hardaway.
That is true.
I mean, there's really some levels to this that they should definitely be thinking on, at least a little harder, a little deeper.
I would think so too. I'm to look at this.
So I don't know if you've seen, but the College Football Hall of Fame ballot is out for 2024.
Yeah.
And there's some pretty big names on this list. Names like Michael Vick, Larry Fitzgerald, Terrell Suggs. I want to say Michael Orr is on this list as well.
Dang.
So membership voting will continue all the way till the end of June 30th, and then the announcement on the 2024 will be made. I mean, I'm pretty Larry Fitzgerald and Terrell Suggs will probably be no-brainers. I think they're absolute shoe-ins. So. And this is, of course, just based on what they did in college. Terrell Suggs set the single-season sacks record when he was at Arizona State. Of course, Michael Vick revolutionized the quarterback position as we know it, and we're still feeling those effects, 20-plus years later. And then, of course, Larry Fitzgerald only played 2 years at Pitt, but he won the Blitnikoff Award during his sophomore season, where he caught 92 passes for 1,672 yards and 22 touchdowns. Pitt has retired Larry Fitzgerald's number 1 jersey. And then, of course, Larry Fitzgerald went on to be the number 3 overall pick in the 2004 draft and quite possibly a Hall of Famer, which we'll see in the next 3 years whether or not he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he'll probably be a Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah. I would think so. That'd be crazy for him not to be.
So I think those 3 are – I'm trying to find the list, the ballot, see who all is actually on this ballot for this season. Apparently, this is taking place in Irving, Texas, too. The National Football Foundation and College Football Hall of Fame announcing the names. So there's 78 players and 9 coaches from FBS and 101 players and 32 coaches from the divisional ranks. So There's a lofty criteria too. So in order to be in the College Football Hall of Fame, you have to have been named first team All-American from a selector that is recognized by the NCAA. A player becomes eligible for consideration by the Foundation's honors courts 10 full seasons after his final year of intercollegiate football has been played. While each nominee's football achievements in college are of prime consideration, his post-football record as a citizen is also weighed. He must have proven himself worthy as a citizen, carrying the ideals of football forward into his relations with his community. Consideration may also be given for academic honors and whether the candidate earned a college degree. So players who have played their last year of collegiate football within the last 50 years, for example, to be eligible for the 2024 ballot, the player must have played his last year in 1974 or thereafter. In addition, players who are playing professionally and coaches who are coaching on the professional level are not eligible until they retire.
You can't be active at all.
You cannot be active at any level of football. You have to be completely removed from the game. A coach becomes eligible 3 full seasons after retirement or immediately following retirement, provided he is at least 70 years old. Active coaches become eligible at 75. So you can actually get named into the College Football Hall of Fame while you're still coaching if you're at least 75 years old. And you must have been a head football coach for a minimum of 10 years, coached at least 100 games, and have at least a 600 winning percentage. And nominations may only be submitted by current athletics directors, head coaches, or sports information directors of a candidate's collegiate institution. Nominations may also be submitted by the president/executive director of a dues-paying chapter of the National Football Foundation.
Damn. That's wild.
Yeah, so there are 11 scholar athletes on this year's ballot, including FBS players Greg Carr from Auburn, Brad Culpepper, who was the 1991 Campbell Trophy recipient from Florida, Greg Esslinger from Minnesota, Graham Harrell from Texas Tech, Brady James, the former Cowboy and LSU Tiger, Paul Posluszny, who had a pretty solid NFL career. Of course, he went to Linebacker University there at Penn State. Darren Smith from Miami. And then the divisional NFF National Scholar Athletes nominees are Keith Elias from Princeton, Gerald Quinlivian from Buffalo, Thomas Stingland from Colgate, and Danny Woodhead, former Patriots running back who played at Chadron State College. So the National Football Foundation has recognized 906 National Football Foundation National Scholar athletes since 1959, and only 41 have earned the distinction as both a Hall of Famer and an NNF National Scholar athlete, creating arguably one of the most unique and elite groups in all of sports. And of those 41, only Peyton Manning, Matt Stinchcomb, Tim Tebow, and Danny Werfel have also claimed the William V. Campbell Trophy. So, pretty wild. Hey, your boy Flozell Adams is a candidate this year. Yeah, Flozell Adams, Michigan State offensive tackle. Monty Ball, Wisconsin running back. Aaron Beasley, West Virginia defensive back. Current Washington Commanders offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy. Of course, he's on this list as a player from his running back days at Colorado. Former Oklahoma State wide receiver Justin Blackman, who also holds the record for most DUIs in a lifetime. Jerome Brown, Miami, Florida defensive tackle. Of course, he passed away. It was in the early 90s, right?
Yep.
He played for the Eagles. Larry Burton, Purdue split end. Rocky Kalmus, Oklahoma linebacker, which I remember Rocky Kalmus. Greg Carr, Auburn linebacker. Mark Carrier, UFC defensive back. Kiana Carpenter, Penn State running back, who did not work out very well for the Bengals. Russell Carter, defensive back from SMU. Matt Cavanaugh, Pittsburgh quarterback. Dallas Clark, Iowa tight end. Of course, we saw the run he had with the Colts. Marco Coleman, Georgia Tech linebacker. Tim Couch, Kentucky quarterback, who just unfortunately got blasted when he got drafted by the second iteration of the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
There's Brad Culpepper, Kenneth Davis, Jarrett Dilliard, Ken Dorsey, the Buffalo Bills' current OC and former Miami Hurricanes quarterback who led the Canes to back-to-back BCS title games, including winning the national title his junior year. DJ Dozier, Penn State running back, Vaughn Dunbar from Indiana, Ward Dunn from Florida State,
heard that name
absolute unit. Yeah, we got Larry Fitzgerald here. I'm not reading all these. I'm trying to skip them around now. Kevin Hardy, Graham Harrell, Marvin Harrison, Garrison Hurst, Josh Heupel, the Tennessee head coach. Of course, he won the national title in 2000 with Oklahoma. Ironhead Craig Hayward.
Oh, Ironhead Hayward.
Ken Huff, Michael Huff, former University of Texas defensive back, part of that 2005 national championship team. Steve Hutchinson, offensive lineman from Michigan. Brady James, LSU linebacker. Levon Kirkland, Clemson linebacker. James Laurinaitis, Ohio State linebacker, son of Road Warrior Animal, who probably could have played a little longer in the NFL if he didn't leave when he did. But, he chose to leave when he wanted to. Ryan Leaf from Washington State. I mean, you can talk about his failures as a NFL player. Honestly, I think his failures as a citizen should probably keep him off this list based on the criteria that they laid out. However, he has kind of had a resurgency of late.
Well, I think that's what citizenship is too, though. Also, at the same time, you should be able to get past your past.
And it looks like he has been, like, he owns it. He goes and he talks to people about it openly. But he's now hosting several TV shows and radio programs talking about both collegiate and professional football. So, shout out to Ryan Lee for getting it turned around
from that era and that time period.
The talent was all there. We got Andy Levitri, the Oregon State offensive lineman. Todd Light, Notre Dame defensive back. My boy Marshawn Lynch, Beast Mode, the former California running back. Oh, yeah. Here's an old name for you.
Oh, man.
Herman Moore, Virginia wide receiver, played for the Lions. Kellen Moore, the Los Angeles Chargers offensive coordinator, former Cowboys coordinator. Terrence Newman, former Cowboys defensive back from Kansas State. Haloti Ngata, one of the Ravens' all-time greats as a defensive tackle. Another former Cowboy and San Francisco 49er, Ken Norton Jr., UCLA linebacker. Michael Orr from Ole Miss, the offensive lineman. Of course, he had the movie, The Blind Side. That's what it's called. Julius Peppers, North Carolina defensive end. Paul Posluszny, Penn State linebacker. Oh, yeah. Antoine Randall, Simeon Rice, Ron Rivera, Matt Russell, Richard Seymour, Alex Smith, Kevin Smith, Takeo Spikes, Terrell Suggs. I mean, Peter Warwick's on this list. Chris Ward, Eric Weddle. I mean, that's just the players. That's not even the coaches. I didn't even list off all the players.
What?
So, I mean, they have their work cut out for them to determine who's going to be in this class.
Jeez. Some of these people ain't going to see that class for a while or see that podium for a while. I mean,
absolutely.
That's wild. Well, guys, we got to get out of here. We got another show coming up here in 15 minutes. Got some bottom card booking. Got a lot to talk about from this weekend. We'll be back here talking more football next Monday. Because who knows what's going to happen between now and then, because you got all these contract talks are still ongoing. There's a lot of things happening there.
Trayvon Diggs is opening up contract talks with the Cowboys, but they also have to get CeeDee Lamb's contract done. Tony Pollard's on franchise tag, so
there's a lot of things happening.
I don't expect Tony Pollard to be on this team next season. This season, yes. Next season, no.
Probably not. We'll know about halfway through the season.
Well, I mean, I don't think it matters. The running back numbers are just too
and
big.
they are. I mean, that's what I mean. I think and it'll be conducive to how well his season goes for sure. Whether or not we know halfway through the season, like, yep, definitely he won't be back here next year.
I mean, the only way Tony Pollard comes back to the Cowboys is if they franchise tag him yet again and just pay him an astronomical amount of money for one season.
And again, I just think about halfway through the season, we'll know. All right, guys, it was fun. JC, appreciate it. Stay safe out there on the river.
Yeah, man, it's real fun. Want to give a shout out to our new sponsor, Tobytown Media. So we'll give you an ad read and all that good stuff next week on the show. But hey, so meantime, if you have any real estate needs, if you're trying to sell a home, or if you know a realtor who's trying to sell homes, shout out to Tobytown Media. Look those guys up.
They will elevate your listings,
work.
folks.
Absolutely. Complete virtual tours of homes, pictures, drone footage, so you can get a complete shot of the entire property. They really do the work, and they put in the time and effort to make each listing something special.
Check them out. I will actually be talking to Billy tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
Oh, really? What you got going on there?
Get in shape, you know what I mean?
Okay.
He's like, yeah, so he's coming to talk to me more about it.
He's got those three youngins he's got to keep up with.
The more important it becomes. You know that. You're in the gym
Absolutely.
also. So, I mean, it's just one of those things you got to take care of. Hey, so, guys, we look forward to it. Appreciate it. JC, see you soon, son. Have a good one.